Welcome everyone. This will be another XRP update, currently trading at $1.43. It really seems XRP is stuck at this price range for the last couple of days. However, this video will not be about XRP price volatility. We are about to discuss something way more important. And it really seems there is no upper limit for XRP's potential and Ripple's ecosystem. Those are not my words, check this out.
Ripple, which is very mission focused, has shown that over at least the last decade, can continue to hyper focus on what their mission is and then execute on that. There is no upper limit on the value of that ecosystem in general.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a random dude on the internet. This is Michael Arrington, a multi-billion-dollar founder in the crypto space. We are about to watch the full interview.
My name is Michael Arrington. My title, founder of Arrington Capital. In 2017, there were tons of these ICOs, initial coin offerings. And there's some great deals, an explosion of activity occurred. And just like the early web, 99% of those, they haven't disappeared because coins never really go away. But for the most part, they failed. At the time, I was running a venture fund that was a traditional Silicon Valley venture fund. And we actually did a couple crypto investments, but I decided I wanted to transition full-time into crypto. I didn't actually purchase any XRP until 2017, which is a good time because it was trading in the 3 to 5 cent range back then. Ripple and XRP have been completely misunderstood in the last decade. Skeptics of XRP would call it the corporate coin, the banking coin. And I think history will tell a story about XRP and Ripple that's it's a fundamental part of our ecosystem and a defender of our ecosystem. What's clear is the foresight of Chris Larsen and then what Brad has done to further that goal, that vision is going to be a huge business in its own right through acquisitions and product development. The great thing about crypto is that anybody can start their own garden. What Ripple is something different, and it was clear back then it was different in a good way and a different way from the rest of crypto. If you look at the tools available to investors in traditional finance with all of its limitations and exchanges and operating hours and custody issues, it's still a huge difference in quality and number of tools that traditional hedge funds have to operate with markets. They need different tools than they have now. Not just for compliance, but also just like they need more robust tools. And my hope would be that Ripple continues through acquisitions and product development to find a way to serve that need. The hidden road in acquisition by Ripple, which I think you're now calling Ripple Prime, it's just a prime broker essentially. And it seems so simple, and prime brokers are a dime a dozen in the real world. But in crypto, we've never found one that's very good. So it's going to be a huge business and like a backbone of what Ripple and XRP become. And we need that infrastructure like super badly. Seeing the future is hard. Seems easy, and you use heuristics and you use past data to make these guesses. Turns out it's really hard. If Ripple, which is very mission focused, has shown that over at least the last decade, can continue to hyper focus on what their mission is and then execute on that, there is no upper limit on the value of that ecosystem in general.
And here is why you can't deny XRP's use case. He also came out with this quote a couple of years ago: "We moved $50 million worth of XRP into our company in 3 seconds and it costed 30 cents. There's no way to do that with fiat currencies or Bitcoin." To this day, XRP remains the most efficient blockchain in existence. It delivers finality in just 3 seconds. BTC can't compete with XRP. Swift can't compete with XRP. It's basically a no-brainer choice if you are moving millions of dollars in cross-border payments. And as a matter of fact, if the cost of payments go down to 0, the world as we know is going to completely change. Those are also not my words. Ripple CTO, actually, former Ripple CTO David Schwartz, check this out.
Happen no matter what. That is a given. We had a revolution in the physical delivery of goods with the shipping container, which changed globalization, started globalization. We had a revolution in the delivery of information with the internet. But what we don't know is what is the TCP/IP of money? What is the shipping container of value? We don't know that yet. There's going to be one, though. That is a definite. And that's going to bring changes. And what I also want to get through is that one of those changes that I foresee and that I think is important is that the size of payments are going to shrink, drastically shrink. Many of you people here probably have a job and you probably get paid twice a month or every 2 weeks. Well, why is that? You probably pay bills once a month. Well, why is that? It's because payments are expensive and clunky. But if payments were cheap and simple, then those frequencies could go up. Money could be streamed at you while you're working. You could stream money to your landlord to pay for the place where you're staying. Now, I know those sound dumb, and I'll be blunt. Yeah, they are. And I'll tell you, like, if we were talking about email in the late 90s and you said to me, like, what are people going to use email for? I probably could not have given you the examples that is on everyone probably here, probably has a cell phone, probably has email on it, and probably has hundreds of messages that look nothing like postal mail or the messaging that existed in the late 90s. None of that could I have predicted. If you'd asked me if the internet had enough bandwidth in the year 2000, I would have said, yeah, it has plenty of bandwidth. Well, could I have imagined Netflix and on-demand video? That's ridiculous, right? Like, the cost of bandwidth is too high for that. But the internet drove the cost of bandwidth down to zero. And if the cost of payments go down to zero, the world is going to change. And I'm going to explain some of the ways that I think that's going to change and what that means.
That means the financial system, as we know, is going to fundamentally change. I see no longer the need of nostro vostro accounts with trillions of dollars in trapped liquidity. Ripple's initial vision for XRP was always about replacing nostro vostro accounts. And this effectively positions XRP as a world reserve currency. And this is not about price predictions, ladies and gentlemen. This is about understanding XRP's role as the main infrastructure of the new financial system. XRP is indeed the invisible plumbing of the new financial system. This is about positioning yourself and owning the rails of the financial system. This is where money is going to flow on the trillions of dollars in the next couple of years. And this translates to no longer operate in the shadows of the financial system. This position yourself as an equal to the banks.
I think the movement towards tokenization is necessary. I think we need to move very rapidly to doing that. We would be reducing fees. We would do more democratization by reducing more fees if we had all investments on a tokenized platform that you could move from a tokenized money market fund to equities and bonds and back and forth.
You know, I do think the first poster child of tokenization is really stablecoins. You saw, as Brian observed, massive growth last year. At Ripple, we very much focused on building the bridges between traditional finance, as Bill was describing, what we now call TradFi, and decentralized finance. And that has meant working with a lot of the banks around the world to kind of build those bridges.
And this is not a financial advice, but I 100% believe you should take responsibility for your finances and do your own research on XRP. If you made this video to the end, let me know in the comments. I want to know who are the real ones. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to see you in the next video.